Okay, so we basically saw the characteristics and the characters for all the things that are just inside a single quote or a double quote. We name that as a strings, right? So string can be named as a kind of a name, or it can be something where characters you can use space there while entering a kind of a string. Okay, string. So you can see the type. We saw it was a string over there. Then now we come up to like doing the operators, or like doing the operations of the addition or the multiplication, right? Comes in the exams, like how if we multiply the objects, how we multiply the strings with some numbers, what happens? So that string will be particularly multiplied by, or that will be printed by for so number of times, right? So it will be getting printed for the 5 times if I use like this. So if I use the gaps over here, so it will be printed as the gaps. Similarly, when you add your 45, that will not be get added up, that will be joined. Or this particular process is also called as your concatenation. And this process is called as your string replication. Alright, that is a replication process. This is your concatenation process. Alright. Similarly, we take marks as an input. When we take an input, we specify it kind of an integer of a kind of a float. So we specify as a kind of a float, and then we can just take an input and you can then check your type over there. Okay. Similarly, we saw yesterday what the len function works on. Okay, so we saw how the len function works on. Similarly, as we saw the arithmetic operators yesterday, we will seeing the comparison operators today. So in the comparison operator, what happens? Basically, it compares two of the values and breakdowns to a boolean value. So as let's say we have some values of x and y, let to be the 4 and 5 there. So if I have x and y as 4 and 5, and if I compare these values, whether my x is equals to 5 or not, or whether xy equals to y, so that will be a comparing statement for me. Alright, so this could be the comparing statement. Now if we go with this start, whether the 4 is equals to 5, that is again the false statement. That's exactly what we are doing with the variables there. Okay, so these are the things, the basic things of it. So similarly, we find out the equals to, so like comparison, or you can say it as for the logical, right, relational operators, the relational or comparison. Basically, it makes a relationship, or it makes a comparison between two of the things, two of the variables, and it makes down to a boolean value. Okay, so there are some types of equals to basically compare the things. So there comes a difference of what is the difference between most of the colleges or schools, where when you read these things in any particular language, with the double equals to comes for comparing things, and the single equals to use for assigning of the things. Alright. So 4 equals 5, giving as a false result, right? Similarly, we have most of the comparison operators, like if I write it 4 is greater than 5 will give you a result again of false. So 5 is less than 4, or 4 is less than 5 will give you a result of true. Then you write 4 is like greater than equals to 5, that will give you, okay, that's a syntax error once. Yeah. So 4 is equals to or greater than 5, that states that if any of the condition becomes true, that is, it will check whether the 4 is greater than 5. It is so, then your result will be true. If any of the condition becomes true, you will be getting a true statement there, right? So these are the things I have discussed, and you will be getting inside your videos. So I updated your playlist. You have the videos of the morning session right there. Okay, so that is, I'm not discussing on the morning session now. So we dealt with all the things. You can see your videos on that, and you will find all the things there. Okay, so there we find, when we see the comparison, I'm just summing up of the things of the morning we did. There's someone. So we saw that we took some of the 4 variables in the number. When we compared the number, when we compared the strings, how to compare the strings, on what basis these are compared. So these are compared on the basis of their ASCII codes. These are compared on the basis of the ASCII codes. So every particular letter is having some different ASCII code. Okay, every particular individual, whatever you have, let it be small x or capital X, they have a different ASCII code. You can see, like, these are the things, right? So to make print all the ASCII codes, you can just find off all these things and just print it out there, right? Next we come up to see the booleans, like the same. Okay, then we have boolean operators as and, or, and not. Now these three are typically in everyone, and there it works like if I take a truth table, so truth table will show you the every possible outcome of a Boolean operator. Now when we use AND, there we use true equals 1, and everywhere the true is equals to 1 and the false will always be equals to 0, right? So if you take a truth table, that will give you a Boolean value. So suppose I have taken true and true, that is your, if you consider it is like for 1 and 1. So 1 and 1, that is 1 multiplied by 1 will give you 1. Alright. So 1 multiplied by 0 will give you 0. 0 multiplied by 1 will give you 0, and so for the 0 and 0 will give you 0. Understood? So it's any of the only the true will come if only if the both the conditions you are having there is correct. Okay. Similarly for the or it will is kind of an addition. You there, 1 plus 1 is 1. So similarly 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, and 0 plus 0 is 0. So here you will be getting false only if your both sides are wrong or incorrect. Okay. One second. Alright. Similarly, for the not one, what happens if you write not of true or not of false, it will revert the exactly and inside the Boolean operator into the its reverse. That if you write for true, it will coming in the false, and for false, it will be it's true, right? So let's take, we have taken some of the variables and then we have compared it over there, and you can see if we write and x equals 2 and y equals 4, that states that these both statements are correct. Similarly, we are getting true, and same if I take a wrong statement over here, so I am getting a false. But if I take this and the or, what happens, it compares two of the values and then you come with the true statement. So if you write a not of true, so similarly what happens, first not of true is false, then not of false is true, then not of false is again false, true is false, and then false of not is true. So you are getting all these. Okay, so not of true is false there. So we did a task of something, we just took some of the input from the user and then we compare whether they are equal or not. So we take an x equals to that and y equals to that and then print x equals to y. Similarly, we get the answer as the false. We take 5 and 10 and all these things. Okay. So we took again that the three inputs from the user comparatively, and then we'll check whether they are equal or not. So we took all the numbers of x, y, and z, and then all the numbers I am specifying it as whether I'll be checking all the numbers as whether x is equals to y and y is equals to z, and also if the z is equals to x. So if all these three are equal, I'll be saying that okay, these all number are equal. So all number will be the all number of state. Okay, and in any state I'll be applying or. So any number becomes equal, I'll be printing true there. So I came with 2, 4, 2, and any numbers I have taken 2 for that, and for that I have got the true result. Similarly, for the next question, we took the 2 input and check whether the sum of them is greater than 1. Okay, that's all the things you will be finding out in the video. So suppose your passing marks is 35.0, so I'll taking the input of the science marks and then we'll return whether the student pass or not. So similarly for all these programs. So if I want to find the square root, yesterday we deal with that we want to find the square root. What we did yesterday, that is we just imported a library. We just imported a library of math, and then we just find out that math.sqrt of your number, that is you just find out the number of 30, let's say 36, so you just find out that its square root is 6.0. So instead of this, what else the new method is, you can use its point multiply by 0.5 without using the library, and we'll see if you find square root of a complex number, then we use C math over there. Okay, complex mathematics. So there we use, in place of integer and float, what we use there is evaluations. So we use evaluate there to find out to take an input of a complex number basically. So it take as the input of a complex number. This eval particularly module you will be getting in your Microsoft examination. They will ask you a question regarding this eval there. Okay. So yeah. So number of the square root will be cmath.sqrt of the number whatever you have taken inside, right? And then you print the, so suppose I have taken 7 plus 8j. So I'll be getting the square root of that is, so this is the square root of the first part, and the second part is having the square root there. Understood? These are the things. So similarly, we got to find the quadratic equation. So we have the quadratic equation in the form of ax square plus bx plus c. So we import again the C math and then took all the evaluations from there. So in the square root, what we have discriminants. So d is equals to b square minus 4ac, right? So there, and for x, what you do is, for x you have x is equals to under root of d basically by 2a, right? These are the things of your x. D is basically what there, your b square minus 4ac. Okay, so x is your d square minus b square, remove this one, so x is your b square minus 4ac divided by 2a, right? This is the x. So for solution, when we get to it, where's the yeah, so we find it b square minus 4 into a into c. Similarly, the solutions would be your db minus c math of the square root of d, and by the 2a, that is nothing but the b square, and this is the square root of that under root of the discriminant value divided by the 2a. Similarly, for the next one, you will be getting, as it's under root, you will be getting the plus and minus value. So you get for that, and similarly for the next one as the plus and the minus, right? So these are the things you will be getting in your video. I have uploaded it in your playlist there. You can get it there, right? So then we come to assignment operators. So assignment are something like when you assign the values to the variables. Let's suppose from the first day we are assigning that x is something value or anything, okay? So similarly, when I need to assign it like x equals to x plus 5, we are assigning that x is having some predefined values from the starting, and now I am adding some values to it, okay? So for adding all these values, what I write, x equals to whatever the value of x plus 5. So we got x as 10. So similarly, if not writing this statement and taking it just in short of some 3 or 4 expressions, what I write is x plus equals to 5. That is in the x itself plus 5. Okay. In the x itself, what I am doing is I am adding on the 5. Okay, it's student coming. So we get to find it as where it is. We get to find x plus equals to 5. Similarly, x minus equals to 5 will be giving you some results, and all these things will be getting in the video. Then we come up to see the identity operators, where the things are or objects are compared, whether they are in the same memory location or not. So you get the is and is not there. So is particularly return you the true if both the variables are the same object. Okay, so I did it here. You just go with this one. So see, I am having a equals to AI and b equals to ML, and similarly c equals to DL. This AI stands for artificial intelligence, B for machine learning, and C for deep learning, right? So I take another variable. I took another variable for a D, and then I made it like A. Okay, just made or assigned the value of A in the D. Okay, so I'm checking whether the A is D or not. So it's saying true because these are having the same memory location now. Similarly, D is A, it's correct. Okay, so A is not B will give you the true. What is not do is just return you the true if both the variables are not present in the same object or same memory locations. Alright, so we deal with method of the printing. So these are the familiar for you guys. How you print, you just use %d and then you write the methods. You'll be getting there what are the uses of all these things in the video. Alright, so this particular thing are used for the string format method. So once you go after the class, still your class is still the 1 or 1:15 p.m. Okay, we'll do with the date time module, date time library now. So I have deal with the calendar library in the morning. Okay, we deal with the calendar library. So what we did there is, let me write it here. So we deal with the calendar. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. So what is the difference between equal to and the is operator that you showed us just now?
Equals and is operator. Okay, see, equals to specify, see, let's write x is equals to 5 and y is equals to 6. Let it be y equals to x. Alright, so now if you write it x equals to y, so that will be true, and if you write x equals to y, so that will be also true. So the only difference is that it will check whether the memory location are equal or not, and this will check whether the values are equal or not. Okay, understood?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So this will check whether the memory object is same or not, it's lying in the same place or not, like, and this will check whether the values of the x and y are same or not. Okay, that will is just to compare the values. Okay, so we deal with the calendar there. So in the morning, we started on the just you can click on the link, you'll get to the calendar library of the Python, and there you can see a lot of things. So we have to do this calendar as well as the date time module today, because we'll be dealing with the date time now. So you have all the day today till the next class tomorrow. So we will completing all these things. So in the morning we deal with, like yesterday also I told you that if you want to print a calendar, so what you do, just calendar and dot calendar of a particular year, then you'll be getting the calendar, right? So we have a lot of things for getting. If you want a calendar for a month, you just write calendar dot month and then you write the year followed by the comma and then you write the month name. So you'll be getting the calendar of that particular month, right? Similarly, what are these? These are L, W, and H that you specify for the basically the length or the things, right? So we'll be dealing with all those. Don't worry. So there is the video for all these things. If you want to find the first week of the, by default the first week it's set to be Monday and that is 0, followed by the Tuesday, Wednesday, and all these. For checking a leap year, it's like calendar.leap and then you write the number, then you will be getting the easy leap or something like that. Okay, and leap days will find the leap days difference between two particular years and then you get the number of days. So we'll be going with the another module today, that is your date time module. So in Python, date is a not a kind of a data type, but it can be said as a module to work with dates and the date objects. Okay, so we'll be dealing with the date time modules. Date and time. So here the first thing is, when you want to import the date time module and you want to display the current date, the first thing the first thing you just come on the to display the date time or like that, right? What you do is you just import the date time, and even if you want an help from a date time, again what I'd say is you just write on this and you will be getting straight away to the link of a this library of date time. So when you click it, so you'll be getting a date time.py where it works within calendar also. So the date time module exports the following constants. If you write date time.min year, you'll be getting the smallest year number allowed in the date or the date time. Alright. So these are the things you can get in the date time. You can the time zone, okay, time delta, time dead time, and the seconds, and all these things are there in the date time. So for getting you just time delta and you find it, you'll be getting like this. So we'll be dealing with all these things. Okay, don't worry. Meanwhile, your work is to go and study these also after today's class, because as I said, uh, every day we'll be dealing with one particular library. Okay, even after the class, every day you will have to work on one particular library and get on Excel for that, right? So we'll start with this. So for importing, or let's say this is for import the, let it be date time will be dt, and just import the date time module, and we want to display the current time, that's it, or current, let's say date first. That is the first priority, to print the first date time module and print the current date. So for that, what you do is you just import the date time. Let me zoom there. And after that, you take a variable, that will be x or y, whatever you want, and then you just pass on the date time and dot the, sorry, then you pass from the date time, you want the date as well as the time there. Okay, yeah, so you want that. Sorry, and then you just print out that you want it for the now, right? And then you just print on the x. So that will return you the date as well as the time for you. Okay, so if you want only the date there, so you'll be importing the date. So that might be giving you. So positions is missing for one particular. So you can find the like for the implementations of like. Okay, we'll discuss it later. Let's first go with the now one. So it's saying that by default the year come first, then followed by the month, and then for the date, and then your time is 12, 25, 27, and these are the milliseconds value, right? So these are the things when you go up with the date or date model basically, right? So moving ahead. So now see in the date output, when you see all these things, when we execute the code, what we get is this: the first year, the month, and the day. So the date contains the year, the month, the day, the minute, the second, and also the microseconds or milliseconds, what do you say? Okay. So date time module has many methods and it returns information about the date object, right? For the I'll be doing with some of the examples, you will be getting it. Okay. So now if I want, let's say, the similar thing what I have written here, if I want it like for the print the year of that, so print the year, so you'll be getting the year as 2020. From on that, if you write the date time for now, the year is 2020. I'm not going, this is automatically recorded from the system whatever I'm getting, right? Similarly, I'll be writing it as x dot str of time. So that of I'll be discussing what is the str of time, what I'm using here. So str of time, what it does basically. So let me write it first. So str of.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have done regarding importing calendar, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have done import calendar, print calendar dot month, where we place a month number like 7, right?
Yeah.
What if we place the name of the month?
So see, name of the month, if you want to write it like print the calendar dot of a month, right? And then you are writing, let's say for the 2020, and then you are writing it kind of July. So it says test indices must not be slices, or kind of you just want to have if you write it like this. So particularly what you have to say that you have to write the index number of a particular month, not the index number, that's the counting number what you do from the one. All right.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, if you want to go with the name of the month, like it is giving me error like name July is not defined.
Yeah. So
can we define before and go with that?
See, so you can define it like you can.
Yes, sir.
One second, where it is higher. So you can define it like July is having 7. Then you can go. Understood?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So you can take it like user from a month, let it be month, let it be m. So that can be an input from a user. This is similarly how you go for the type intercasting. So enter the month and then let it be year for the user. Similarly, I'll be just printing out the values. So that will be the values of print calendar or the calendar of particular year and the month. So if you run this, let's say you want the 2020 or 7, you'll be getting a calendar, might some problems there. All right, so it is a month. So a little sizes. So we'll be getting probably like that. Understood?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you please paste this in the chat box?
Sure. Wait 1 second. How calendar works in detail you want? Alright, I'll discuss it. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Some Sneha is asking how to go in the detail of a calendar. Alright. I'll go there. let's complete the date time module first, and then we'll go to the calendar again back. Alright. So the date time would be okay. Let me go one by one. So here I was using somewhere str of time. Okay, let's move ahead. So for getting a current date and time, what are you using that? That you want date time dot date time of now, and you just write it kind of dot now, and then you put over the parenthesis, and then you just run it, and you get the values of that. Alright, so getting ahead to print. Now let's say you just want to print the current date. If you want us to print the current date, how will do that? So see guys, so if you, that depends on what kind of thing you are using now, right? So we want date of any particular time. Now suppose you want the current date, so for that what you'll be doing is you will be just taking it as the similar method what we have done for the date and time, only in the place of date time, and now you'll be using the date dot today, right? Because today's date is not changing every particular seconds or minutes, so it's for today, right? So you'll be writing date time dot the today, and meanwhile you will be using date dot from the date time library, or you can write it like this, that from the date time you just want to import the date, that's all, and then you can write it as date dot today, that's all. So then you just go and print your x, so you'll be getting the today's date as 2027 and 22. So that also have very different formats there. Alright. So what inside this date time, basically we can use this dir function to get a list of all the attributes of the date you are having. So you can get these are the factors and the attributes you are having inside your dir. Okay, so these are the things you have basically. So I'll discuss those, what are the date time, and basically in the directory of all these. Alright, moving ahead. So particularly when you run a program, or when you, let's say you import date time and you just print on the all the directories of your date time. If you write it like this, when you run this, you'll be getting max year, min year, bulletins, gas, and all these things, right? So what does this all stands for? So commonly used classes. From here, all these things, if we find out the commonly used classes, so the commonly used classes are the, let's say these are the date class, date time classes, or sometime for the time class, sys class, and your, where it has gone, time zone, or the package. These are some of the common things, and also the time delta has been taken for the lot of times. So these are some of the most common classes we use in the from the time date time module basically. Okay, so let's see about one by one. Okay. So date time dot date class, particularly you can instantiate the date objects from the date class basically. Okay, so it represents a date of an year, the month, and then the day. As you see in the above example, I have written where it is here, right? For the year first, then followed by the month, and then by the date. This is how you can write. So that depends on you. If you want to print any particular date, while let's suppose you are building a website and you want a date to be represented there, or which changes every day, so you'll be using the datetime dot today. Now if you want a website, a static website, and you want it to be displayed on which particular date you built that, so where there you'll be using a fixed date value, that can be like date dot just you write the date, there you'll be writing, let's say I'm building this particular module in the July, right? So I'll be writing 2020, then 7, and then today is 22nd. Alright, so that's my date. Alright, so if I see my X, I'll be seeing, if I print my X particularly, not like this, it will be coming with an just a library name there. So when I print my x, alright, just error. So it says my date is 7th and 22nd, 7th and 2020. That depends whatever you want. Let it be 10 or anything. Depends on you what you write there. So if you want to fix it manually, you can write it. And if you want for today's one, you can just write for the today and you'll be getting the date of the today one. So, right? These are the things which will run in the right. Okay. So a variable there is called as your date, basically your date. Okay. So that depends whatever kind you write or whatever type of date you want. Some date time you can import date, and then again if you want to see it like kind of, let's say x equals to date, and then again you can specify, let's say 2021 or 12, something like that. When you print your x, you'll be seeing the date. So you can also use this. Otherwise you can just use this method of from the date time import the date, and from date and then you can write for the date of all these. So that is how it works on. Right. Now to see a date time from a timestamp. For what is exactly a timestamp basically now? So we can also create date objects from timestamps. It's a kind of a Unix timestamp, the number of seconds between a particular date and January 1970. This will be the question you will be getting in your Microsoft examination. Alright. So this particular prints you to convert a timestamp from date using a method. Basically, I'm writing that. So if you want to get this question will be coming in your exam 100%. So if you want to get a date from a timestamp, so basically where you create dates, okay, and that from a timestamp. So there your Unix timestamp you call as a kind of a number of seconds between a particular date and January 1, 1970. Okay, it is a fixed one. You just go with the January 1, 1970, and that is an UTC. Okay. Now you can convert these things. So for that, I'll be writing again that from the date time, I'm going to import the date, and now I'll be using my timestamp. So let it be TS, and I'll writing it as date dot T. So there you have from the timestamps. Right. So from the timestamps, now what you do is there. What I'm saying, you need to calculate it's basically number of seconds of a particular date. So let's say we are writing it as the number of seconds, let's say any particular type, and that's all. When you print this as a kind of a date particularly, and then you write the value of your TS. So it will print like date equals to 2012, 11, 1 and 11. So it basically gives you the date of these much seconds from the January 1, 1970 at the universal time method, right? So that is your UTC. So you are getting there from the universal time coordinator, and then you get the number of seconds just from the timestamp of 2012 on. So these much seconds are there within the 1970 to 2012 there. Okay, understood. So that is called as calculating the number of seconds from your UTC method, right? So see, now if you want to print the today's date you have seen, now if you want to print today's day, today's month or today year, something like that, you just ask, you can be asked anytime to print anything from that. Okay, so for that what you'll do is, let's say for today I'm asking what to print today. So what is the date of today I have done. Okay, so let's write it for, so this is for date of today, and now let's go for printing. Now the year, which is current year, so current year what you will write is your today dot the year. So instead of writing the Okay. Year date time dot year dot today. What you'll write just today dot year, because today is having all the modules of today one, right? So today dot year. Similarly, you can print, write it as today dot year. Then you can go for finding the today month. Similarly, you can go for finding the today's day. All these things. So you'll be finding it as 2027 and 22 exactly, right? So these are the things when you go and find the, you'll be getting all these things. Right? Well, if you see any problems there, yes, no. So there are a lot of things to find on in the. So your work will be. You can also find the time delta, total seconds. These are used in the mathematical calculations also. Now these are very much important in the terms of machine learning and also in the data science part, because in the data you need to find a lot of things and you'll be needed this data and memory to load on and to work out there. Okay. So these are some of the libraries. You can see date or year. You can find the max and max year over there. You can find the date of months between the 1 to 12 inclusive. So till now, no 13th month has been discovered. So if when it comes, it will be added up there. All right. So getting there. Yeah. So now you can see the number of just kind of the month or the year you are getting there. Right? Similarly, if you find the time, so time is a kind of an object which is instantiated from the time class. So these were the class of we have seen time stamp, right? Or when now we are going to see the time. So time we have deal with that how we can get a time, particularly first defines the hour, then the minute and the second. Okay, so that depends what I write. So let's say we are now going to write for the time one. So
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Sir, actually, before while you were giving print year equal to today year, right?
yes,
The before one, yeah, there.
huh,
So there I have given year, comma month, comma day,
huh,
and equals to the today year, today month, today day.
huh.
If I give like what happens, sir?
You want year, comma month,
Year, comma month, comma day equals today year.
like that.
Yeah, I have printed whole, sir. After that.
And then you want year, the month, and the day. So you'll be getting it like this.
No, sir, I have got differently.
Why?
Sir, I'll just paste my code over there.
Okay, yeah, write it. I am saying that.
Yes, sir. I had done like that.
Today equals to this. Okay, see, this is the kind you have written print year, comma month, comma day equals. So you need to first assign all these three individually, right? Then you can write it down. See, what you did is the only wrong thing you did is that you assigned all these things inside a string. Okay, that you
Yes,
started
sir.
with a string over there and you ended with this. So what happens? See, when you assign this as
Yes,
a
sir.
kind of a this, now this whole stands as a kind of a string, not as a kind of a variable. So how you assign all these three inside a string? So you need to remove this string one, and then these will be the three
Okay, sir.
variables. You will be assigning these three values there. Okay.
Okay,
And
sir.
what error much? Let me see. No errors again, right? Only you have to remove these strings. Okay, so these are particularly the three
Okay, sir.
variables you are going to name it there. Okay, and before printing, just
Okay,
remove the
sir.
print also. So before, just write only these things, right? As I have read, first initialize the variables.
Okay, sir.
First write the values, and
Okay,
then you
sir.
can print. Okay,
Okay, sir.
all right.
So,
So
Thank you, sir.
yes, anyone there more?
so whenever we are using Java or C, we are importing the library and then we are accessing the object from the dot operator, right?
Yeah.
So here in Python, I'm just pasting something in the chat box. So here in Python, we are seeing that we are using two dot operators. So can you please explain me which one is the class and which one is the object and which one is the function?
Okay. From which two dots you are asking, right? For the when we have writing like the date, from here you are asking these from date time dot or like that.
Yes, sir. So because in C and Java, we have only seen that we are doing date dot something. Like we have used a dot operator only one time whenever we are importing a library. But here I can see we are importing two libraries, like sub libraries and all. So
Yeah.
just can you
So
explain me
here
about that?
itself, this is date time is a kind of a module there, and from there you have date and time libraries. So it depends what kind of library you want from there. So I want the date library. From the date, I will be coming with this particular another function and this here. So this is a function there stored in the date library, and this date is stored in the date time. So meanwhile, in the starting when I did it like okay here. So there what I did is I brought the date time. I imported this module there. From this module, I imported this date time library, and from there, I want everything. That is from now. Okay, from there it just got printed. So here I'm using calendar.month. So here I'm bringing the calendar library, and inside for that I'm bringing a sub library of month, and then I'm printing. Understood? So
Yes,
this
sir.
dot is kind of, you can say, as a kind, it represent as a kind of subsets of all these libraries. Understood?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. So getting ahead. So we were in the time. Now for the date time, for getting in the time again, what I'll bring, instead of importing the time, what I'll do is I'll bring this from the date time. I'll import the time one. All right. So that is I've imported, and now a time is basically represent as a kind of an r. You get a r equals to, let it be any value or minutes or seconds, right? So if I take a equals to time, so print a, that is a date time of 00. Still we haven't gave any of the values there. So when you print a, so if you write it kind of a, so you'll be getting as 000 initialized, right? So by default it's 0 over there. We haven't written any of the thing because we didn't give at what time we want. We exactly just passed out the time function. Okay. Now let's give some hours, some minutes, and the seconds. Now let's say I want to print a, and I want to initialize a by the time, and now what's the time there? 12:48. All right. So let's give the 12. Let's give the 48, and let's just wait for 10 seconds. Let's see whether it becomes 49 or not. I want to give exactly the correct one. We run. It might be 50 or 55, I think. Okay, become 49. I'll be giving it at, so I'll take 13 seconds to execute this one. So I'm just writing 30. So if you write this print A, you will be getting the date. That's 12:48, and it's time 12:48 and 13 seconds passing now, right? So meanwhile, you can just,
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Hello.
yes,
Sir,
yes.
can you please check WhatsApp? I have sent one photo
All right, I'll see that one.
regarding an error. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was 20 seconds. Okay, fine. WhatsApp. Where is my WhatsApp? All right. Where you have sent in the WhatsApp? Let me see where. Yeah, got it. From date time
So
print.
before when I used print, I have got like year, month, day equal to 27, 22. But after that, when you said to remove the print, then I got this error, like invalid syntax.
20 and 23. See, the invalid syntax is just because of the, see the 23 number cell, that line
Yes,
year,
sir.
month, and day, and after that you have used equals to, and just after equals to there is a comma. Remove that.
Okay, sir.
Run it.
Yes, sir.
It's print year, month, and
But I
date.
haven't got any output.
You didn't got na because you have just initialized the variable. Now print year, comma month, comma day. Just write year, comma month, comma day, and print it.
Yes, sir. I got it, sir.
Got it? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So the time we just made now. Now let's see what we if assign some hours or something like that. If I write as a equals to time, and then you can assign some hour over there. Let it be 12. Let the minutes to be 51. So let's take it 52 now, and the seconds would be let it be 2. Alright, so these are the seconds. I'm taking it something like that. So if I run this, invalid function. Alright, let's take it 20. Oh, it is second, sorry. So it's going to become 52 there. So before it comes, let's print a. So it's 12:52 and 2 seconds. Okay, it depends. You can write it something like that, and then you can define hour, minute, and second over there. But so by default, these places are 000, as you can see here. Where is the screen? Yeah. So as you can see, by default, these are the 000, and you can define it for. Then you can also use your microseconds if you want. So suppose if you want to print the microseconds too, let's say. You have written this, and after this you want a microsecond. So that particularly used by the scientists to just make some calculations on the field of astrology. Sorry, astrology. I'm saying astrophysics. Microsecond. Let it be any value. 1 must be 000 and so on. 5. So you print your A, and you'll be getting a value of these things. All right. So these are your microsecond values. So that is your kind of you just print on. Okay. Now if you want to print the hour, the minute, the second, and these all things in just one limit of time, just you will run it like just import the date time and then write a equals to give your time limits whatever you want, and then you can print it. So if you don't give any of the microsecond, if you don't just write similarly like we haven't give any microsecond here. So if you find the microsecond, so let's say for any time you have now a. So if you want to see the R, so you'll be getting the R as something like that. Okay. Similarly, write a dot the minutes. So a dot minute is this. Similarly, a dot the seconds, and the a dot the microseconds. So you'll be getting all these things. So your R is 12, your minute is 52, your second is 2, and your microseconds are 4, 5, 6, 7, 0. These are the things you can just go on with this. Okay. So that is how it makes off. Right? So when we come to the date time, so in the date time, it is when you go with the date time, there are years, month, and date. Okay. So the year, month, there can be year, month, date, hour, minute, second, and microsecond even. So what I mean to say is, when you write date time, you have everything there as kind of what I say it is. You have there first as your year, then you have month, then you month, then you have day, and then meanwhile you can have your hour, you have minutes, then you have seconds, then you have microseconds. Alright, so you have all these things there inside your date time model. So you can define it one by one. Okay, let me give it as a comment over there, and we'll write it as, let's say I'm having an x as my date time, and I'm writing it as date time, and I'm giving some of the values. Let's say 2020, and it's 7, and this is 22, and it is 12, and minutes is now 55, and the second would be, I think it's maybe 50 or 40, and the microsecond is, let's say, does something, right? So let's don't define microsecond and just run it over there. Okay, module of object is not called as fine. So from the date time, you will be needed to import the date time. Alright, done. So when I come to print my x, and I'll be seeing that these are the things now. Now you can find it one by one, and one by one you can just go and print all these things. Now you have x, so you can find it for the x dot year, comma x dot the month, comma x dot the day. Similarly for the minutes, let the hour first. Hour, similarly for the minutes, seconds, microsecond, and we will get everything. So we have 20, 27, 22, 12, 55, 40, and 0 microseconds. Understood everything? Any problems there coming up? Okay, let me zoom it out. I believe that no problem would be there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Adarsh?
Sir, can you explain that cell number 57?
50s. Alright.
57.
So you imported from a date time, you imported the date time one, and then you write out. You can also write it as kind of date time dot date time. Even if you don't, you just import this date time, and from that you can, if you, it is kind of a messy for you, you can just write import date time and date time dot date time of all these things, and you can just run on that. Okay, so for the date time module, you are becoming, or you are just making coming a date time library from that. Combined library of a date as well as of time, and then you are writing the date first and then the time over there. Understood? That is all stored there. Then it comes with the date and the time. The first thing we just printed in the beginning of the date time, what we did there is this one, not this, where it went off. This one. Understood? This is the first one what we did there. There we took for the now, and here we are specifying the values. Alright? Clear? Here we are specifying the values, and there did it for the now. Alright. So let's go for the date time of time delta basically. So this now represents the difference between two dates or two particular times or like that. Okay. So if you want to find the difference between the dates and the times, you will be, let me write a program. So what I'll do is now from the date time I'll be importing the date as well as the time. Alright. So or you can also take at kind of import the date time once and the date, depends on what you take as input. So now let's take an year, let's take a month and the day. Okay, and calculate the difference between the dates. Okay, so I'm writing it as the date. Let's calculate. So I'm taking 2020 and the 7 and 22 minus the date the 7 related to 7 1. So you'll get the number of days is 21 there. Understood? If you find the number of days, that is it's saying that you have the 21 days. You can just write a print of that. That is a time kind of thing you just use. So you're getting 21 days, and you didn't give any of the time limits. So it depends. You can also write for the time limit, and then you can just go for those things, right? So for the time limit, what you will do is you have date time. You can, as I said, you can individually import the things, guys. You can individually import these and these from here individually, and then you can just run on, but that this might run, and there in place of these you will be writing just the time, and then you will be giving your time limits there. So let's write the time limit as let's say it is now 12 and the 59, let's take is 13 now. Zero minutes. What are these commas? Alright, so we have time this minus the time when we started working. So what was the time when we started working on the date time? What was the time there? So that was 12, 25, 27. That were 12, 25, 27, and we solve. So you run this. There is some date, time, dot time of problems. Alright, let's take it to the what the issue is coming there. That ran really very good. Yes, unsupported type of the strings. Alright, so let's write it kind of. So it's supported there. Why it is not supporting it? Let it write like this. Let's take it's kind of a. It does support. Why it is not coming? Alright. So let it be a time of first was 13. Now it's 13:1. So okay, instead of writing all these things, you can just write for time dot. Now that would be probably good. Okay. Okay, do one thing then. Now it's not supported. That's well good. It's right here 13, and this has the 2, and this has let me 45. Let's see. Now is there any? Again, still there is some problems. Date, time. Sorry, there's a state, and this is date. I hope this time it would run the one positioning argument of the year. All right. It's taking a lot of thing there, so let's define it. Let's make these different. Let it be time 1, and let it be time 2, and let these things to be common. No, I think it should work now. So the year has been defined, month has been defined, day has been done, or similarly minutes and these seconds. Sorry. Okay, so I think this will work now. Alright, done. So now let's find the kind of the difference between the date 1 and date 2, or time 1 and time 2. So we'll find 643 seconds. We have a difference of 643 seconds. That's nice. Alright, so you can find it like that. So these are the time, and you can meanwhile also check the type of time 1, and also check the type of let's say okay, time 2. You run this, we say that these are the date time modules over there. Okay. So you can.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, instead of giving this year, day and month and date, why can't we only find for time?
So let's probably I did for that one. The white is not working. I just saw for that. Once again, let me work it again. See why it is not coming. I was trying to do that. Why it is not coming? It's just of time. We can find the difference between the times. for write and for date time was not working. Okay, so if I only write for the time, it would work, right? It's 12:54 3. So this work as 12:50 km 3. That okay. So if I want there is some kind of, let me see. Is there any change in the module? Because these modules change time to time. Sometimes it gets changed. Let me see any changes there or not. Time 41 numbers you can see. That's orange is 3 minutes second.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, where we have used date time dot date time, instead of using date, can we use only time and do this process? Will that matters?
Which one? Here. Here.
Yes, sir.
Here it matters because we are giving the inputs of the date also. So you will have to bring the date one too.
No. I mean to ask is that we are planning for doing only for time, right? So that if we just remove of the date, will that work? I'm asking, sir.
It works, but why it is not working? I'm just looking for that. Let me see why it is not working. It works basically. Let's define these as this and let's print x. Let's see what comes. So yeah, this isn't time. That's it. Okay, fine. This thing is fine. So these are particularly the you can say for the time delta. So that, I think for time delta there has been a change in the keys. Why is it not coming there? Hmm, for calculating the number of seconds, time delta is having. Let's calculate it by time delta now. Let's see if any module has been changed or not. And I believe that something has been changed there. Right, is caps lock. Yes. Alright. If I write it like time delta, and meanwhile if I place these things there, let's see whether it works or not. It should work, I think. R is an invalid keyword for while it is an invalid keyword. We are using the invalid because it's R is there. Minutes. Alright. Similarly, this is a time. Yes, got it. So, yep, this module has been changed from the time to time delta. You can calculate by using these things. Okay. That was, I was thinking of that there would be some problems with that. So you can find that if I use these, it's probably a 1 hour gap. Okay, understood. So in place of time, previously it can be done using the time because it might be changed. So from now you can see it with the time delta. Okay, in the time delta you can also assign the dates and all those things. Understood. So I think Vamsi was asking for that. You got it there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You will be using time delta, and you can specify all that. So you'll be getting all
Yes.
those
Thank you,
things.
sir.
All right, this has been changed. Okay, I didn't solve for that. All right. Similarly, you can just go for the calculating only for the seconds or the time duration in seconds. For that, you'll be importing the time delta, and then you can find out the seconds in that. Right. So for that also, you can also find that. Let it be a kind of an x. It is be in x. UL while passing. Very good. So here we have to write it this and this one. Done. Okay. Now let's see. Now you can find the total seconds. So total seconds is you'll have to print it like just write for the okay before printing this. You can just pass on the functions and you can get the total seconds. So total seconds is there of the 3600 exactly correct. All right. So you can find it out there. Number of these things. So you have different formats. Now, if you want to represent your date in different kind of formats, you have the formats out there in which kind you want to print out your date or rest of the things. So I've done there in the above one where it gone. So that you can find out in the help box of the time. So you'll be getting there that if you want to get it there printing, so you have different formats for that, where it is, in the below I think, yeah, there it is. So for the codes you have capital Y for the year with a century decimal number, and similarly M for the month, day for the day, H capital H for the hour, 24-hour clock, big M for the minute of the decimal number, big S for the days and all these things. Okay, you have commonly used formats for the codes, STR of time. It basically have all these things. So I'll be using some of them, and you can just get to it. Okay. So str of time, I'll be using the str of time method. So that will be using to define the date, time, of the time, or class of that. Okay. So let's write it as first go with the strp of time. So these are Python strp time. So particularly these are defined, or these are the method to create just a date time object, you can say, from a given string basically. So let's write it for strp. Sometimes you will be asked that what are the difference between the strp of time and strf of time. So I'll be dealing with this. Don't worry. Okay. So similarly, let's take it's a date time. And this is your first input thing you have done, right? Then you take your date as a type, as a kind of a string. So let's take it with the string, or not, right? Let it be dt. Now let's say I'm writing today is 22nd. Uh, what is this month? July. This is the date. All right. You can give the comma or whatever. Define. Depends on it. And if you just want to see the dt, this is your date, right? This is your date. Now if I write it as date time, and then I come with strp of time. See the difference? If I say, let's say dt, and I'll mention the codes now, whatever I say. So I'll be mentioning the D, the first, and then the B, and then the Y. So you must know what are these B, Y, and B stands for, right? So there are written there, you can find out that from here, that for the commonly STRP, what we'll be using, capital V stands for the local full month name, and the what is where we use D and Y. So capital Y will stand for the year, and small d will be representing you the date of the month. Alright, so let's run this, let's see what comes. Exactly take 2 arguments and 4 given. Alright. So we wanted like 1 and what is the problem still there? 1, 2 and 3 say. Okay, I have made a very blunder mistake over there. That is just that is the thing. Time data does not match 22 July 2020. What is the date today? It is correct, right? Anything else? What is the date of today? 22/7/2000. Yeah, it's correct. Your time notice still of time is not matching. Right. So DT first is being the date there, then being the month, and then being the all right. So there was just a space difference. So if you go and see, your DT is 2020. Your year, first of all, you're getting year, then the month, and the days over there. Okay, these are the things. But you can print it off, right? So you'll be getting as the output of these things. Similarly, if you write it for a value of a STDT, let's it be the strip time of that, and I'm just printing the STD. So there you will get these things what you had previously, right? Right. So these are the things you got as comparatively to 22 July 2020 to 22 July 2020, and then you can define your times over there. So the STRP method exactly take 2 arguments, one first your date and then first your the codes or the formats you are using over there. Okay, so first is your the string which represent the date or the time whatever you want, and then the format code which is very much equivalent to whatever you want kind of. Okay, so these percent D will stand for your day, percent B for the month, and percent Y for the year. Okay. So STR of time, STRP is basically having a lot of things to learn on. It's itself is a very big thing to just go and explore. Okay. So it works on the basis of very much things. Okay. We'll discussing it later on. When we'll have time, we'll discuss for these things. Okay. So these are the things which we use there in our Python as a kind of a date. Okay, so you can print any date or just use the strf. Okay, strf also works the same as a type. Okay, the strf is something like it is also working with the same module as like you just write over the date and then you just print it off there. Now coming up to the last type is a kind of your time zone, which I said that is also used. So let's come to the time zone. So time zone basically prints the time zone, right? It prints the time zone of a particular country or let it be any places. So there you have to write date, time, and then you import the date time from there. And also you import a module called as PYPT, and that is why it's not working. Sorry. So it's Python time zone there. Alright, it's the 100th cell now. Fine. So let's say you are working on a project and you need to display the date and the time based on their time zones. So you can work with that. Okay. So for the local, your local time zone would be this, and you can print it off like your local time zone is equals to this kind of a local dot str of time. Okay, they can write str of time. That is particularly the string of the time. That's all. And now that can be defined as person, and that could be defined as what value exactly you want. So there also it takes two of the values. So then you define it like let's say m. Let's say it's b y. So I probably would not be able to see it. Let's take capital H and then the capital M and the capital S for the hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, let's run. Let's see what comes. There an error comes. So str take at most y. It takes two arguments. Who said it take one argument? Alright, it's saying so. Let's make it one argument then. Oh no. So it's saying the time zone is this and this is your time zone. Alright. So now let's just bring, because in the packages you have a lot of things. If you go and see the help of so it'll be given a lot of things there, so you can just write it or it will download it there. Load. There is some issues, I think. Alright. Might have some second options. So we can see these have a lot of things to work on. If you want to see the time zones of these have UTC, local, format, all of these. You can find these functions written here, right? We have all the time zones of like for the Africa, Asia, London, and all these are there to work on. Let's print the time zone of London. So, okay. So London comes inside the Euro. All right. So let's take it as a time zone of my London, and that can be PYTZ. Now that states for the time zone. So if you want to see all time zones, you'll be get lazy list. Why? So you'll be getting these are all the time zones inside a time zone of that. So there are a lot of things. If you go and read one by one manually, so you will be finding out there. So these are a kind of a list you have, right? So you can print particularly the time. What I have taken is PZ London. In PZ London, I have taken. It's not probably the TZ London. So there are all the time zones inside these things. So in Africa, you have these things, and so on. Coming up to the Asia, when you come to the Asia, you have a time zones of all the things. So probably when it was very, it is basically the Calcutta in place of the Kolkata there, right? We have these things as the made out there. So in the Asia, you can come with all these things, and there are a lot of to explore. Okay. So there are Calcutta, there are Kolkata, and everything would be there. So according to Indian, and then all the things are there to work on how many. So how many exactly we have the time zones? So let it be TZ, not the T. So these are the kind just of TZ. get all the TZ there. Let's print the TZ, and then we're just taking how many time zones we are having. So we are having a length of 592 time zones. Alright, we are having these much things over there. So these are the time zones. So similarly, if you want the time zone of any particular state, or any particular space or country. So let's take, you are taking the time zone of London. What I was saying was, so I'll be writing it as pytz dot the time zone basically. So I'll take it from the time zone, and then I'll write it as the Europe, and the Europe I'll be going for the London. Exactly how it is mentioned above there, we can find it from that. So what we'll do is date time dot now of the TZ of London, time zone of London. What is the date time working there? And then you can just print out. So can you print it like it's date time of the London dot the str of time, and now it depends on what kind you want. What type if you want, I want the same type as we did in the this one. So now you can understand what the basic difference between the str of type of str of p type. That p type will take 2 arguments and the f type will take you exactly 1 argument. That can be a major difference for these things. So if we run this, now we see this is the current time of London going now, that's 8:57:39. And I probably have a batch today in the evening, so that's good. So I have batches in the evening, I have batches there in the from the 12 to there one, right? So we have batches from 11 something according I start normally at 11:15 then here, so that can be our time. If I see for 11:15 hours, they have something different. So you have your clock, you can measure the exact time with the London. On any particular thing, you can just go for the let's calculate for the New York or something like that. Let's calculate for the Kolkata what's happening there. So there it be. Like India time would be same. I think it should work. Yeah, date time of Kolkata is not defined. Oh, spelling error. What I have written then? KOLKATA.
Sir, it will be TZ underscore Calcutta because in module it is TZ underscore Calcutta.
Uh,
That's why it will.
once I saw that was also having the Kolkata too. Let me see. It is having because it has been updated with the Kolkata. Again, I see Calcutta there. Kolkata might be also there. Let's find for K. So this is B D H K coming there. K. Huh? It's not having Kolkata. Why I saw? Okay, let me see it again there. Where it is. Let's print TZ. Let's check it. See, there it is, Kolkata. I said it's there. Let me copy it. Why it's not working then? In the Asia, let me print it again. So no changes are there. It's TZ of Kolkata and the time zone and date time of KOL KATA, date time dot not of TZ KOKL KTA. KOL KTA equals to underscore of date time of these particular, it's equal, and then run it. Eh, so probably might be, let's take do one thing. Let's take it as TT underscore of KA or KO. Let's take it as of TT underscore of KO. KO. This would be same. Why it is not working? Have I got the? Yep, I got. So this is the time of Kolkata. It's same 13:32 and 8 seconds. It's same there. You can find out for anyone. Right, depends on the time you are just. So let's print for the New York. So coming the under the America. Let's take it for NY. Any place. So this is for New York. Okay, so these are the things you deal with the date and time. So date time is very important, as said, for the calendar is also important, for the date time is also important. So you can work on all these things, right guys? Okay. I feel like I have did a lot of things. Let me